All right, everybody, welcome back to the #1 television program in the history of the entire universe. I am Brian Lee Durfee, author of The Forgetting Moon, The Blackest Heart, and The Lonesome Crown, all three books published by Simon & Schuster's Saga Press. Today I'm going to be reviewing I Was a Teenage Slasher by Stephen Graham Jones, also published by Simon & Schuster's Saga Press. Now, Stephen Graham Jones, I've got all of his books. Well, we'll pan through the library here. I've got them all up there, at least the ones that were published by Saga Press. He's one of my new favorite horror authors. I don't read his books just because we have the same editor and the same publisher. I actually do think this guy is my next favorite modern horror novelist, and I'm going to collect everything he does eventually. Let's talk about the cover first, because you know I love graphic design and cover illustration. This is pretty cool. I mean, it's got the guy in the hoodie, big bold font. I like kind of like the slasheriness of the font. It's good. Now, at the beginning, there's a quote that I liked from Nikki Sixx of Motley Crue, and the quote is, "Sometimes nothing keeps me together at the seams." I could sing it in the melody of Home Sweet Home if you'd like. Sometimes nothing keeps me together at the seams. I'm on my way. I probably should stop. Okay, you've all clicked off the video at this point. So now I'm talking to nobody. Anyway, Nikki Sixx. That's why I wore one of my I've got dozens of Motley Crue shirts. I collect Motley Crue t-shirts. It's just one of my things. But it's pertinent. These t-shirts are pertinent to the story. Not only because of the Nikki Sixx quote at the beginning, but anyway. This book came out last summer when I was in the hospital, so I didn't get a chance to read it until now. Usually a Stephen Graham Jones book is released, I drop everything, I buy it, I read it, I leave a review on the channel. Sorry I didn't get to do that one for this one because it came out when I was in the hospital, and it's just kind of sat on my shelf since. But anyway, I do have about a half a dozen Stephen Graham Jones videos on my channel where I review his other books. If you want to find those, just type in my last name, Durfee, into the search bar. Stephen Graham Jones, somehow those books will magically appear upon your television screen. I don't know how it's done. Pagan Sorcery, maybe? I've heard. I don't know. Anyway. I love hair metal. Clearly Stephen Graham Jones does too, because it's evident in this book. Right from the get-go, we're talking about Motley Crue, Cinderella, Kicks, Quiet Riot, Poison, even the Jay Giles Band and Bonnie Tyler get mentioned. I mean, I could just go on and on about the 80s classic rock referenced in this book. Not just actually the band is mentioned by the characters, but just little one-liners. And if you're familiar with rock lyrics from that era, which I am, there's so many just little 3-word sentences, 3 words, 4 words, a sentence. That's like our actual rock lyric that is just kind of injected into this book, sprinkled throughout as little Easter eggs for people like me who have listened to classic rock and have listened to every single classic rock band over and 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 over. It was delightful. I was just like, just in the middle of a sentence, a character would say something that I'm like, that's a rock lyric from, the Jay Giles Band, or from, the obscure metal band Kicks. It was fantastic. Anyway, this takes place in 1989, the story, in West Texas, where teenage slashers and cats both have perfect balance and enjoy black and white sitcoms and 80s TV drama like Heart to Heart. Or Chips, or Three's Company, or all of the above. There's been a renaissance of horror stories that reference 80s nostalgia. I mean, when I say renaissance, it's like basically every horror novel written today is set in the 80s and references. I mean, but I love that. I love that. I grew up in that. I mean, why would I complain about that? Anyway, Tolly Diver is our main character. He is the teenage slasher. This is also about a girl named Amber Dennison. They're not that popular in high school. Amber's a Native American. Tolly, his father is dead. Plus he has a peanut allergy. There's a lot of things going wrong with him in high school. This book talks about how he gets bullied, how pranks are pulled on him, how he gets betrayed. He's got this girl, Amber, that he likes, but they're just kind of in the friend zone, I guess you would say. Tolly narrates this story in the first person, as an adult. Like, he's grown up, he's an adult now, and he's looking back on the days where he was a teenage slasher, and people died. Or so he wants us to believe. 6 people died, or whatever. Or was it more? Can we even trust this narrator? That's kind of what's going on. Is he or is he not a serial killer? Is he or is he not just spinning tales of bullshit? You have to read to find out. I'm looking back on his youth. Like I said, his relationship with Amber is the true heartbeat of the story, even though it's about this guy, like this Jason Voorhees type of person, this Nightmare on their 13th Street. I don't think that's the name of that. Nightmare on Elm Street. Fuck, what am I talking about? I just combined Friday the 13th with Nightmare on Elm Street. Anyway, you know what I'm saying. These classic slashers like Chucky. This would be as if Chucky is now an adult doll, and he's talking about when he was a baby doll, and he killed people. It's kind of what... This is an homage, not only to 80s hair metal and classic rock, but it's also an homage to slasher films and the absurdities of the slasher films, and the nostalgia that we have for, Jamie Lee Curtis in slasher films. Just things like that, It's just a love letter to all of the above. I'll read the jacket because it gives a better, it'll give you a better idea of what's it. So, La Mesa, Texas. Now, I didn't even Google La Mesa, Texas. I don't know if it's a legit play. I don't know if it's real. Maybe it's made up. Somebody Google it and leave it in the comments. La Mesa, Lamesa, Texas, July 1989. Now, Stephen Graham Jones grew up in Western Texas. That's why this book is about that. It's kind of like almost not only an homage to hair metal slasher films, but really it's also an homage to that part of Texas where he grew up. So La Mesa, Texas, July 1989. It's the summer before senior year for best friends Tolly Diver and Amber Dennison. They're not in the marching band. They're not in the FFA. That's Future Farmers of America. We had that in my high school in southern Utah. They don't really count as people. Amber's the only native student in town, and Tolly is only on the radar. I should just stop reading out loud. I can't even do it. Okay, let's start over. Amber is the only native student in town, and Tolly's only on the radar due to his father's recent death. This is all about to change. Bodies are going to be dropping fast in this small western Texas town for a few unbearably hot days that will resonate through the decades and even get made into a TV movie. Tolly and Amber will be famous, notorious even. Finally, everyone will know their names. I can't read out loud. I should. I'll never get a job as a voice narrator on Audible. This is Stephen Graham Jones X-raying the slasher genre, interrogating its motivations over the shoulder and in the voice of the killer itself from a town he did some growing up in the year he was also 17. The kills will be poignant, the jokes will be hurt, and the violence will be endearing. Everything's turned around for Tolly, for Amber, and for all of La Mesa, Texas. Be happy you weren't there. Be happy you're only reading about it. Okay. I've just decided I should never read jacket copy again because I can't read out loud and make any of it make sense. But I hope you got the gist of it. Book is fantastic. 10 out of 10. I love Stephen Graham Jones books. I'm glad I'm collecting them all. And we will be reviewing these a lot in the future.